Jerry Seinfeld once observed, according to most studies, people's number one fear is public speaking. Number two is death. The Advocacy and Articulation mini-simulation requires you to do something that many people don't like doing, standing up in front of other people and speaking. The goal of this simulation is to provide you with these skills so that you become a successful public speaker. The Advocacy and Articulation mini-simulation will require you to do three things. First, it will require you to advocate a position with sound legal reasoning. Second, it will require you to clearly articulate this position and support it. Third, it will require you to adapt to the situation. You'll be asked questions about your position in situations that differ in stress levels, personality, and objectives. Try to think about how differently you would handle your presentation in a low-stress environment, high-stress environment, to superiors, to peers, and in a press conference. Professor LaPlante's 10 Steps to Effective Communication and this tutorial give you everything you need to make the Advocacy and Articulation simulation an exciting skills-building exercise rather than an impending doomsday. Effective communication should consist of substance, organization, and poise. Notice that each of these categories are broad principles that provide you with flexibility that allows for style to vary from person to person. Now we will cover each category in more detail. First, substance. A good advocate must rely on a realistic message. The most talented orator could give a very rousing speech calling for the U.S. invasion of the moon, but it would still be unlikely that Congress or the President would adopt such a proposal. Next, you must make sure that your information is accurate. In the real world, misstating a fact, whether intentional or not, will give your critics ammunition against your credibility, and your credibility is important. Before you address a group, you must have a clear purpose in mind. Ask, what must prove true for this to succeed? Remember, substance is the purpose of your message. Number 2, organization. Once you are confident that you have accurate information and a realistic, coherent policy proposal, organize a speech to convey to others that your proposal is the best response to the current issue. A persuasive speech, presentation, or press conference has a direct thesis, strong supporting points, and a powerful conclusion. You most likely will not have more than 60 seconds to present an idea in the simulations. So your thesis should tell your audience in 10 seconds or less what you want them to think or do. No beating around the bush. For the purposes of the simulations, your thesis should be short and easy to understand. Next, pick 1 to 3 powerful facts that will help the audience see why what you are proposing is the correct course of action. Finally, your conclusion should be a synthesis of your thesis and facts. Number 3, poise. Some people may scoff at the need for good poise as style points. As I said in the substance section, no matter how talented a speaker is, he won't convince the president to bomb the moon. Although your poise will never make up for a lack of substance, if you lack poise, your policy recommendations will lose credibility because you may seem unpersuaded that it is a good idea yourself. Or you might seem uninterested or uneducated. Looking at this from another perspective, if you have fabulous substance and organization, good poise adds an extra shine to your advocacy. It shows that your message is important to you and ought to be important to your audience. Poise consists of enunciation, temperament, and body language. First, with enunciation, make sure to say your words clearly at a good medium-paced rhythm. Many people speak faster than normal when presenting in front of a crowd, making them more difficult to understand. So speak slower than you think you have to while you present, and most likely it'll come out just right. Avoid filler words like, like, or you know. Second, temperament. Temperament is important because you will be asked difficult questions by journalists or your superiors. Remain calm and carry on. Otherwise, you may come off as defensive. Don't be afraid to pause for a second or two before speaking. By remaining calm, even when your questioners are aggressive, you send the message that you are in control. Third, body language. Body language is as important as the words you say. Don't let your posture or your body movements distract from your message. Some good ideas is to stand up straight, but not uncomfortably so. Look at your audience and not at your notes. Don't put your hands in your pockets and don't use excessive hand gestures. Now, I want to reemphasize that the above suggestions are best practices and are not a checklist. What you are trying to do is be your best self and present your message in the best way. This will and should look slightly different for each and every one of you. The Sim Design team has included a link to a debate between Professor Giora and Professor Cassell. Both of these men are excellent examples of good advocacy. Both have articulated their position under high-stakes circumstances. Notice how comfortable each of them is with their information, structure, but most importantly with themselves and with their communication style. Likewise, you shouldn't try to be like either of these gentlemen or like any of your classmates. Use these principles as guidelines. But remember, the goal is being able to persuade others to your point of view. Now that I've explained what your objectives are, here are some suggestions to be able to achieve your goal. The steps are easy to remember. They are prepare, practice, and perform. Prepare. Understand the problem and who the problem affects. Create a solution. Understand the strengths of the solution as well as its weaknesses. Understand who the solution affects. And if necessary, be prepared to revisit and revise your solution. Create a 30-second statement of your proposal. Prepare the questions that you may be asked. Practice. Practice in front of the mirror. Also, consider having your friends pepper you with the questions that you think the press conference will ask you later on. Also, time your statement as you make it so that you have an idea of if it's too long or if it's too short. If possible, record yourself and pay attention to what you do. What are your hand gestures doing? What is your face telling your audience about your message? Finally, perform. Show up 15 minutes early. Dress professionally. Take a 3x5 note card with bullet points. Now remember, this is only to help refresh your memory. This is not something that you read off of, but a tool that can help you get back on track if you feel like you've gotten a bit off track. Don't be afraid if things don't go as planned. A quick search on YouTube will reveal politicians and press secretaries slipping up or getting flustered. It's important to remember that taking questions is a big part of their job, and they do it frequently. If they can be taken by surprise, you will too. But use this experience to prepare for future situations to minimize mistakes. Good luck, and see you in the Advocacy and Articulation mini simulation.